welcome back everyone to our sixth #HireMe 2022 guest panel speaker series hosted by BCJobs.ca. So my name is Chelsea and I'll be your BC Jobs host for today's panel. This spring, we are hosting our panel series every 3 weeks, where we have 3 special guest speakers from various sectors join us for a Q&A on what's new in their organizations and to talk a bit about the job market and hiring in BC. As you may know, BC Jobs is Western Canada's biggest online jobs board. And in addition to this guest panel speaker series, we also offer annual career fairs. Our next one will be later this year, so stay tuned for more details. You can also check out our Innovators podcast to hear more about what industry leaders are saying about the job market. And lastly, we just released a new events page on our website, which is BCJobs.ca/events. I'll put the links in the chat later so you can stay tuned to all of our upcoming events this year. So before we get started here today, I want to encourage the audience, so you guys, to type your questions for our guest panel speakers into the chat box below. And you can do that at any point. And then later on during our Q&A period, we will get to your questions. So I'll go back through the chat and try to get through everybody's questions in order. We are also offering a job candidate pitch event right before we start our audience Q&A. So to participate in our pitch event, in the chat box, you can enter your name, your location, area of expertise, and years of experience. So 3 candidates will be selected for a 30-second pitch to tell our guest speakers about yourself and your experience. So this could be like your job experience or school experience, whatever you want to say about yourself. The person with the best pitch will then receive a 30-minute resume consultation with BC Jobs, and I would be notifying the winner via email later after the event today. So when we get to this part of our panel, I'll remind you all again about how to enter the pitch event. So stay tuned for that part of our panel today. And yeah, I think we can get started with some introductions. So I'll pass the virtual mic over to Morgan Lackey, HR and Culture Manager at LBC Studios. Morgan, welcome to our panel. It's great to have you with us. And please tell us a bit about yourself and LBC Studios.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon. It's a real pleasure to be here and help everyone in the virtual audience today. Again, my name is Morgan Lackey, pronouns she, her. I'm the HR and Culture Manager at LBC Studios. We are a mobile gaming company based in Vancouver. And, something really fun that recently happened last week on 4/20, our Empire flagship game reached its 5-year anniversary from launch, and we celebrated over 20 million downloads. So that was a huge success for our team. We had a party. It was great. It was really fun. People got, heated in the categories competition that we had. By background, I have about over 10 years of experience in the recruitment in technology space. And I have worked with all sorts of clients from, public sector, private sector. And before I actually came to LBC, LBC was one of my clients. So I have been recruiting for them outside of the company and now inside the company. And it's really neat to see some of the people that I've placed grow into their roles. And, I've hosted resume workshops in the past and interview tip workshops, and it's really nice to be a panelist instead of a host today. So I'm pretty excited to be here, and I hope that all of us provide, great tips for everyone.
Thank you for that wonderful introduction, Morgan. It's awesome to have you here today. And next up, I'd like to welcome Pam Lee, Director of People and Culture at Blackbird Interactive. Pam, thanks for joining us today. And please tell us a bit about yourself and Blackbird Interactive.
Thanks a lot, Morgan. That was a great introduction. So that's going to be tough to follow.
I'm worried.
Yeah. Again, I'm Pam. I'm from Blackbird Interactive. We are an indie studio located in Vancouver. And true story, when I first started with Blackbird about 2 years ago, we were, I think, at about like 160. We are now 300 and counting. So I think just like Sinead and Morgan, COVID made a lot of things slow down,
Mhm.
not gaming. We had our biggest growth during COVID.
Yes.
So my team and myself are responsible for making sure that we get the right people in and that the studio grows in a sustainable and healthy fashion. Exciting things about Blackbird, we really focus on AAA cool games and a lot of IP as well, which is a really exciting thing about Blackbird. Um, yeah, so I'm really excited to be able to share some tips and some
Mhm.
things that are going on in Blackbird, some cultural shifts that have happened during this crazy 2 year period and counting. And I'm looking forward to connecting with not only the people that I've got to meet on this panel, but everybody that's joining us today.
Wonderful. Thank you for the awesome introduction, Pam. And last but not least, I'd like to welcome Sinead Butler, a senior recruiter at Electronic Arts. Sinead, it's great to have you on the panel, and please tell us about yourself and Electronic Arts.
Hi everyone, it's really nice to be here and to meet you all. As Chelsea said, my name is Sinead. I work for Electronic Arts. I've been here about a year and I work for EA Sports, focused on our art teams. So yeah, it's been a busy year, as I think Pamela and Morgan can attest to. So really excited to answer all your questions that you might have about EA. As a company globally, we're obviously quite well known. And we're continuing to grow and grow. So yeah, happy to answer any questions you might have about that. But yeah, just short and sweet. And then prior to EA, I spent about 6 years for a VFX company, hiring for VFX and animation movies and TV shows. So yeah, I've got a lot of experience under my belt.
Fantastic. Well, thank you all for telling us about yourselves. And now that we know our panelists a little bit better, I've got a few of my own questions that I'm going to start us off with before we move over to our pitch candidate event and our audience Q&A. So these next questions are geared more towards what's new at their companies for 2022, but I've also thrown in a couple questions under the theme of gaming industry. So I'll start off with Pam. So, Pam, this spring, Blackbird Interactive has released some very exciting news about moving to a 4-day work week. So many companies are trialing this type of shorter work week. And I'd love to hear more about what this means for the company and employees.
Yeah, I feel like every 6 months the studio kind of goes through a shift and like just the industry moves so quickly. Again, COVID made us really think a lot about how we work, made us really think about things like mental health, about
Mhm.
inclusion, about diversity. And I think a lot of people, I mean, I can only speak for myself. I started thinking about, what is important to me because of all
Mhm.
these shifts. So some things that we saw in the studio was that, that thing, that the crunch of the industry is real and it continues, even though we're all working from home. And we were just wondering, okay, well, the great resignation is kind of looming around, and what can we do to still be an employer of choice? And so we sent out a survey of like, hey, what kind of retention ideas do you think would be something that we should pursue? And honestly, employees chose the 4-day work week as the most popular one. I mean, it was by and far the most popular one. I couldn't tell you how many, like, plus one, this is a great one. And that's the great thing about it being a small studio is you can be quite nimble, and
Mhm.
Blackbird is really good at listening to the employees. We just thought, okay, let's give it a shot. From an HR person, I almost fell out of my seat. Like, for real? We're going to do this? And of course, I have all these questions. I'm like, okay, how are we going to do this? Well, we got together so quickly. We got a bunch of stakeholders together to discuss what do we need to do to make this work? What do we need to do to make this work for both the studio and the employees? Because for the studio, we want to make sure we keep our talent here and we want to make sure that we can be a place where people want to come to. But we also want to make sure that the game is going to finish.
Mhm.
And so we had experts on our teams be able to put together like data, figure out how can we assess things. A lot has to do with clear communication as well. Like, what do you do with the data? Do you just share it with the people who are in leadership? No, we shared it with everybody on the teams. we trialed it actually with two teams, one
Mhm.
that's an IP team and one that we are actually launching pretty soon in a couple of weeks. Um, and one of the teams actually wasn't too sure that this was going to work. We
Mhm.
trialed it for about 3 months and we did these surveys, had meetings at least like once a month, and 100% of people said, don't take this away from us. It's so great. And, they had a list of all the things that people were able to do on their Fridays. And it was really
Mhm.
great for balancing, work and life. And people felt better about their quality of life. And we're just like, "Ugh, it's a no gamer. I mean, no brainer, no gamer. We just got to do it."
Yeah.
And so now we've rolled it out officially.
Mhm.
And it's not to say everything's perfect, right? Like it's always a work in progress. We
Mhm.
still send out information about the metrics, about the data, the things that
Mhm.
we need to work on, because we want this to be something that will help the employees manage
Mhm.
their work. It also forced us to look at our processes and our practices. I mean, do you need to have that 1 hour meeting? Do you have to be at every single one of those meetings? And so people are really just assessing what's important. And I think that's a
Mhm.
really great thing.
That's so fascinating and so exciting. A 4-day
Yes.
work week. There is a follow-up question from Sean. If the 4-day work week is an 8-hour a day, like 4-day work week,
Yep.
or if it's
It
longer.
No, at first we were kind of like, oh, what does that mean? What does 4 day work week mean?
Mhm.
Does it mean compressed? Is it 10 hours, 4 days a week? Does it mean that, your lunches are shorter? Like,
Mhm.
what are we doing here? But we just thought, you know what? The teams were able to make it work within 32 hours. So that's what we should aim for. 32
Mhm.
hours, 4 days a week. I mean, of course, there takes some time to get to 32 hours, but the
Mhm.
goal is to get there. The goal is to look at the meetings, look at what practices can be changed so that we can get to the 32 hours, 4 days a week.
Wow, amazing. Hats off to you guys. That's fantastic to hear.
We will
My
be probably publishing a white paper at some point, so that way
Okay,
other
cool.
studios can also learn from our experience, because we feel so strongly that this is a great thing that we encourage other studios to give it a try.
Fantastic. That'll be very interesting to read once it's out. My next question here is for Sinead. EA has around 12,000 employees globally. What are some international opportunities that you offer employees?
Um, we offer our employees all the opportunities they're looking for. EA is really big on career development when those opportunities come up, and we are a global company, and we're lucky to be able to offer them to our employees. I think as well, over the last 2 years, we've had to rethink that as well. We have to go where the talent is rather than the talent coming to us. So, yeah, we've definitely, encouraged that for our teams. And I think, we have some great resources as well to support that. We've, great support from our mobility teams when there's like immigration and work permits and everything involved. But yeah, we have, internal sites we're encouraging. We see a lot of internal applications going on in our career
Mhm.
site. So very much so. We want, EA experience is the most valuable experience you can have at EA. Regardless of, if you come from different games companies. So yeah, we want to keep people at EA. We want them to feel challenged and motivated, and to see themselves at the company for a long time. And with that comes progressing. So yeah, we do offer a lot of international opportunities for crew.
Awesome. That is fantastic to hear. And my next question is over to Morgan. LBC Studios was started in 2015, right here in the Lower Mainland, and your team is growing. What are some achievements that you're most proud of at LBC?
Good question. We've exploded. We were just talking about this. I was just talking about it in a meeting prior to this. We have exploded in all areas. Talent, our game lineup that's coming up here, our programs that we're developing. But I think you know, the last couple of years has been hectic. It's been chaotic. We've been really pushing hard, developing all these new things. And we took that moment last week to take a look back and
Mhm.
say, wow, we created this game when it was a very controversial fringe topic, and we have seen such success. So that is probably, within the last couple of weeks, that's our biggest achievement,
Mhm.
so far. And 20 million down was pretty good. Pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a
Holy
lot.
smokes.
Even the whole team, when I said, "Oh, how many, downloads do you think we've had?" Everyone's like 13 million, 14 million. I'm like, "Oh, they're going to be the big surprise." So that was pretty fun. We also have people celebrating big 10-year work anniversaries with us. There's some
Mhm.
folks that have been with us since the beginning, and it's really nice to celebrate those in front of the entire team and show that, yes, we're young, we're a young company, but we've had people who've been here from the beginning. And then also, the last year we've taken some changes internally for processes, new people programs that are just going to elevate the career development and professional development and personal development here with the studio. And we really care about, growing people in their careers and in their personal lives as well. And I have to thank Pam for putting the little nugget of the 4-day work week. That's making my life so busy right now. And everyone
No
in our
problem.
little surveys, they go, "Excuse me," and I go, "Okay." So thank you for that. Yeah, it's been a really good year of growth. So yeah.
That's wonderful to hear. I'm so happy for you guys. So back over to Pam. I've got one more question for you for Blackbird Interactive. I noticed in the past you guys were partnered with VFS for the Women in Game Design Scholarship Program. What are some initiatives and opportunities that Blackbird Interactive offers?
Yeah, that is a very exciting initiative that we have with BFS.
Mhm.
And again, I think during the last 2 years plus, diversity and inclusion is a really important topic that we have to address. And I'm super proud of our D&I committee because they're pretty new, but they've made such a huge impact on Blackbird. The
Mhm.
way that we approach things, how do we uncover our unconscious bias, even the way that we recruit. We're starting to look at some of the former best practices. And you're like, why do we do it that way? And how can we change things so it is more inclusive? And I've seen someone ask about like language skills. And as much as we are here to interview people, we also want to make sure that we prepare the candidates to also have the best experience possible. So some things that we're thinking about is like, should we start publishing our interview
Mm.
questions? Because it's not supposed to be a surprise, right? Like we want people to be prepared. So things like that. But when I think about some of the formal opportunities that we do have a pretty cool mentorship program that we've been doing for a couple of years. And it's basically two employees or more just pairing up so that the mentee can learn in a very specific area. And so we've seen a couple of people already be able to move into the next step of their career thanks to the help of their mentor.
Mhm.
We also have other really exciting initiatives that are coming up that do focus on diversity and inclusion. I can't talk about them right now because I don't want to steal the team's thunder, but they told me that hang in there because I think next week they're going to do an announcement. It's in a partnership with a couple of other studios as well, including some post-secondary. So
Ooh.
I'm excited about that. Again, the hard work from our D&I committee. Other things that we have been looking at include like how do we design our compensation packages? Things like
Mhm.
bonuses, things like profit sharing, things like time off, like the 4-day work week. A lot of those initiatives started out just from recommendations from employees. And last year, I think, was probably the busiest year in the way that we had created some of these initiatives to ensure that we were meeting the demands of our employees and finding ways to ensure that we are attractive to our candidates. Just
Wow, love it. I really like the idea of publishing interview questions, because I think that makes us all sweat a little bit before going into an interview. You know, what are they going to ask me? So yeah, great initiatives, and we'll stay tuned for your announcement next week. So beginning of May. All right. My next question here is for Sinead. What are some industry changes that you've seen in the past few years, and how do they impact these large organizations such as EA?
Yeah, I mean, I would say the biggest change or the ongoing change is just the demand for the content that we're producing. It has to be bigger and better every year. The past year, EA hired 5,500 people. It was our biggest hiring year to date. And that just shows you we need to hire these people because that demand is there from our customers. So, yeah, I would say the biggest trend is just more and more. There's just so much content required, and with the last 2 years, because we the global situation, more people were staying inside, turned to gaming, got interested in gaming, so which added to all of this. So yeah, I would say that. And then because we need all this new talent, it's going into new markets. It's targeting you know countries and places maybe we would never have previously looked at, because we can now all work remote. Previously there was a lot of conversation that you had to be on site and in an EA building, but we're learning to transition to that hybrid or remote working, and allow us to bring in talent, as I said previously, wherever they are. So yeah, I would say it's just more and more and bigger, which is great. It adds a lot of exciting. It gives opportunities to people that maybe they didn't have previously, and brings more juniors into the field. So yeah, I would say that is the biggest thing. Talent acquisition is busier than ever, as I would say Pam and Morgan would attest to. So yeah, I think it's just continuing to go that way.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree. Wow, you've hired 5,000 people just in 2022.
Yeah, our fiscal year from March 2021 to
Wow.
this year. So
Holy
yeah.
smokes. Yeah, that's really
Yeah.
awesome. It's
Pat
that's a
on the
good
back.
sign.
Pat on the back
Yeah,
for
well done.
talent
That's a lot
acquisition.
of
It's been
onboarding.
yes, definitely a team effort, I would say, across so many teams within EA. But yeah, the demand is there, so we need to keep working.
Awesome. Good to hear about that. My last question here is for Morgan. What do employees love about working for LBC Studios?
It's a great question, and I'm so thankful we survey the team so they tell us what they like. So yeah, we do a lot of, not a lot of surveys, but we do have surveys where we do want to gauge, what is happening with the industry, what's happening within the studio, and give them a voice to help make the change that they want to see. So, on the positive side, they are seeing really three major trends of the studio. So we have a real love for our leadership team and just the team members in general. So they love working with their colleagues. They really have trust in our leadership team and in all sorts of disciplines. They really enjoy the work-life balance and flexibility. We strive to be one of the most flexible studios. I just have a fire truck going by, so if you hear that, I apologize. We want to strive to be one of the more, yeah, it's going by right now. Let me just mute myself. The joys of working from home, which brings me to, we got rid of our office. So that's one of the things that the team is actually enjoying right now. They really like that flexibility of working from home. And then another thing that they seem to enjoy is really just the direction and the transparency that we have with our team members. So when we're making a decision up in leadership, the team members know. They know what's going on. They know where we're going to go in 3 years, where we're going to go in 5 years. And we do that so that everybody is kind of rowing in the same direction. They have an endpoint of why they're showing up to work every day, and that purpose of developing these really fun and unique games.
How wonderful. That's great to hear. And thank you all for answering all of my burning questions for you. It's been great to get to know more about you and your organizations and studios. And next up, I would like to introduce our pitch event. So for those of you who missed my introduction at the beginning, about halfway through our panels, we have a pitch candidate event where the audience has an opportunity to pitch themselves to our guest speakers in 30 seconds. So you can talk about your work experience, maybe what you're studying, your passions, if you're changing careers, what career are you looking to transition into? So you have to think about how you can compress all of that into 30 seconds. And there is a prize. So I do have an incentive today. And the prize is a 30-minute resume consultation with BC Jobs. So you'll probably get me going over your resume in a few weeks. So if you're interested in having BC Jobs look at your resume and you want to practice those rusty public speaking skills, then in the chat, I'll put the instructions here. You can type your name, your location, the area of expertise, and years of experience, and I'll pick the first 3 people. You can see my fingers here. The first 3 people to put their name into the chat, and you can have a 30-second pitch to our guest speakers today. Oh, awesome. We've got some brave people. Oh, cool. All right. All right, so we've got Karoom. So Karoom, you're the first brave person to put your name out into the chat. So feel free to unmute your. Oh, you already unmuted. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm ready to go.
You're ready. You're here. You're ready to go. Your camera's on. Excellent. So you know what? I'm gonna hand the floor to you. You've got 30 seconds to pitch yourself, and we're excited to learn more about you.
Sounds great. So my name is Karim Hossain. I'm from Vancouver, British Columbia. I have a very wide background, 13 years customer facing of retail management. I've done my formal education 3D animation modeling and game design. And I just graduated from a boot camp for UX design. I'm working in a design agency currently. I'm looking to break into the gaming industry with UX gaming potentially. I'm also very interested in VR for gaming and XR experiences. I've been actually experimenting with Unity quite a bit and developed some small stuff myself. But I'd love to connect with any one of you and definitely learn more about any opportunities you have coming up.
Very cool. Sounds like you've got a lot of experience. And I guess a follow-up question for me would be, what would be your ideal position?
Well, my dream position really, I think XR is where the industry is going. Games, everything UX is going to be through augmented reality or at some point. That's why I'm studying that. I would love to be in some kind of early technology department where we're experimenting and developing prototypes for potential new interfaces we'll be using for those kind of applications.
Very cool. I don't know if any of our panel speakers here today have any follow-up questions.
Yeah, I would say, one of our questions that we always ask is, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years?
Oh, are you asking me right now?
I'm asking you right now.
On the spot.
Well, that's where I see myself in 3 to 5 years is hopefully with a lot more experience as a UX designer, product designer, experimenting and building products for XR, like I mentioned. And I want to have a couple of my own passion projects in the App Store someday. I'm actually working on a couple of things right now that I might be taking to developers as soon as I can.
Ooh.
That's
Good
good.
for
I think
you.
you've a really good awareness of kind of where the gaming industry is going. And I think just having those side projects is always really nice to hear as well, because I think it shows a genuine interest in the industry. And that's not to say you have to be doing that, but it is a nice little added piece. But yeah, definitely virtual production is where it's going, I would say. So it's great to hear you have your eyes on that.
Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Great pitch. Thank you, Kevin. All right. And our next brave pitch candidate is Karim Oda, if I pronounced that correctly. Yes. Karim, so welcome. Feel free to, you've got your camera on, you're unmuted. All right. The floor is all yours. So we're excited to hear more about you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's my first time in a webinar like this in my life. So forgive me about my English. I'm from Arabic country. I'm outside Canada. I'm very interested in the gaming industry. I'm so happy to be with you today. Thank you so much. I'm looking for a great and a suitable job to my talent and my experiences in Canada. I got the IELTS. I finished my WS equivalency from uh, WS in Canada. All my legal papers, my passport is ready, everything is ready. So I'm ready to relocate. My name is Karim Aouda, 33 years old. I got the Bachelor of Tourism and Hotels Management, 12 years experience in sales, marketing, and business developing. You can call me as a branding specialist. I've been working in Mercedes-Benz. I've been working in multinational organizations like Holiday Inn, like Millennium, um, in multi different industries. You can call me as a multitasker. You can call me someone complex problem solver. Okay, what makes me here today? That I'm very interested first to be in Canada because I love the Canadian people and the culture there. Okay. Second, because I want to enhance my career level. So if you have any question, I'm here. I'm ready.
All right.
Thanks.
Did our panelists have any follow-up questions for Karim?
Yeah, I have one question. So what makes you interested in working in the gaming industry?
First of all, that I have seen that at the few months left, that there are many opportunities for the Arabic speaker translator or Arabic speaker, someone who can work in this industry. So can it translate from Arabic to English? Second, I'm very, you can say like this person is very talented in dealing with selling, upselling, and reach the target of each organization's vision, uh, mostly like that. If you have another question, I would be grateful.
I think a question that one of my panelists had asked, where do you see yourself in 5 years or even 2 years from now?
Honestly and logically, if we are talking about someone from another country, Egyptian, working in Saudi Arabia and willing to relocate to Canada, it's something I cannot expect easily. Okay, but if we are talking about if this earth is one level, if we are talking without borders in our life, so my next career level, the last position I held is operational excellence specialist in the industry of automotive. Okay, so and currently I'm between the mid-senior level and management level. So I'm going in the normal life, I'm going to enhance for the management, the higher management level, inshallah. Yes. Thank you for your question.
Terrific.
And Karim, we at BC Jobs, we do offer immigration panels a couple times a year. So you're welcome to have a look at our events page for. We just had one in March. So maybe we'll have one later on this year. But if you're interested in immigrating to Canada to work, come join one of our immigration panels, and you get to talk to immigration lawyers and RCICs about how you can come to Canada. So just to throw that out there in case you're interested.
So much, thank you so much. And for the immigration consultant, we'll be grateful for that. But all my papers are ready. I have also a profile on the BC or British Columbian Canadian website, governmental website, and the only thing is the job offer. This is the thing I can
that's
start
the last thing, right? That's the most important part that you need to come here. Well, I wish you good luck in that, and yeah, you're welcome to come to one of our immigration panels.
Can I say one more thing, please?
Of course.
I love you all. You really love so much. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Karim. Great pitch. All right. Our next pitch candidate is Thomas. So Thomas, feel free to unmute yourself. Hello and welcome.
Thank you for hosting this. I don't know what I'm saying. Okay, anyway.
No, the floor is yours.
Fair enough.
Hear about yourself.
All right. My claim to fame isn't so much my experience, as I admittedly have a very limited amount, but it's more my enthusiasm and excitement to get into the industry and my immense passion for gaming. So I have coded some games before, being just a couple of tutorials, and then I failed at remaking 1994's Pong, because of course I did. But anyways, I guess, yeah, I'm just 20 years old, excited to see if I could get into game design, and maybe my motto generally is if I can make someone else's day better, then that's a day that I'm happy with. So if I'm able to make someone smile, then I'm more than happy.
Good motto to
And
have.
Thank you.
yes, I love your enthusiasm. And
Admittedly, lack of experience, but
you know what? We all have to start off somewhere. We all, we were all 21, getting our experience out in the world. So, we have to start somewhere. And I guess maybe a follow-up question for our panelists here would be, does your company offer junior positions? Do you hire at the entry level?
that is a good point.
Yes, absolutely. At
Yes.
the entry level, I think where the industry is going, it's, we're kind of bringing in a lot of people at that junior level and mentoring and guiding and developing them. So yes, definitely. My question to you, Thomas, is have you done a game design course, or I think you mentioned in the chat you did in high school, but are you looking to kind of further your education with any other kind of degrees, diplomas, any courses?
I am looking to, once I'm ready, because I haven't gone to post-secondary yet, but once I'm ready
Okay.
to, I am definitely looking into going into game design. That is by far my dream job. So it would just be perfect to get into. So I mean, you'll never guess which company I might possibly
I know.
have a
I was
bias
like, should I
towards.
just? I was thinking, should I just mute
I mean-
myself?
Yeah, we'll just take a seat back.
Wow.
We'll
Kind of
check out for this one,
obvious.
Morgan.
To be fair,
That's
I'm
pretty
more than happy.
awesome.
I'm more than happy for any. So.
Actually, I have a question. I'd like to learn a lot about why game design. Like, what is it about game design, and what's your approach? Because game design isn't just one faceted. There are so many different types of game design, and so what does that mean to you, and what interests you about that area of gaming?
Honestly, I think it's mostly the satisfaction from having somebody enjoy a game that you've made. Like creating a game and then having people excited to play it and happy to experience it is a giant draw for me, because I, again, just want to make people happy. And that would just, if I make somebody a game that they enjoy, then I'm pleased with that.
Awesome. So it's all about the end product. Nice.
Pretty much. I also do have a bit of experience in voice acting, so there is that too. If
Very
that interests
useful
anybody.
skill.
It is.
All right. Well, awesome pitches to our 3 pitch candidates. So keep an eye on your email inboxes for an invitation to a resume consultation with BC Jobs. So stay tuned. And next up, I just want to open up the floor to our audience Q&A. So I've noticed that we've started receiving questions way back yonder in the chat, and I'm just scrolling back up, trying to find the first the first question. So bear with me. So let's see here. I think the first question that I see in the chat here is from Olha or Olya. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Apologies. If you want to jump on screen and unmute yourself, or at least put your camera on, feel free to ask your question to our guest panel speakers.
Wow, hi. Do you hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you. Welcome.
Thank you. Actually, we moved with my husband like a week ago to Canada from Ukraine, as I sent you a message before. And he is a quality assurance engineer, automation on C#, and I'm an HR manager. I used to work in IT for 3 years, and we are looking for a job. And I think that the main problem that we have is not good English. So it's kind of intermediate and maybe a little bit less for my husband. So I wanted to ask you, is it possible to get a job like with this kind of English level, maybe?
I think your English is great. I
Yeah,
actually studied
yeah,
English
better-
teacher, so
Better than any
you're-
second language I can speak.
Yeah.
I think it's about having confidence in your English.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely don't think there's any issue. Like, I think, you're perfectly understandable. So I think it's just be confident in your abilities. don't be nervous going into interviews or anything like that, because I personally don't see an issue. So I think it would just be confidence in your ability. And remember, you are speaking a second language, which a lot of us can't do. So um, yeah, I
If
wouldn't see an issue from my
Thank
side
you.
if I was speaking to you for a position.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Canada is so diverse, and
Mhm.
if we only relied on hiring only Canadians that are fluent in English, honestly, I think we'd be really limited in, like, I don't know, diverse thought and perspectives. And
Mhm.
for me, I do think that we have to recognize that communication comes in so many different forms, especially working remotely.
Mhm.
I'm on my computer all the time, and people are always telling me they don't understand what the hell I just typed, and English is my first language. Okay, so I find that people just need to understand that again, communication comes in many different forms. Some
Mhm.
people's written communication is fantastic, their documentation is fantastic. Some
Mhm.
people, and it's not even just English as a second language, communicating vocally, verbally, is not really something they're comfortable with. Some people don't like presenting, some people don't like being in front of a camera. I
Mhm.
really actually started to realize that for a lot of people during COVID when they had to do all these meetings. They just didn't like seeing themselves, and it just kind of drove them crazy. So, just as Sinead said, I think I can understand you completely. And it is about confidence,
Mhm.
it is about showing how good you are in other ways of communication as well. Um, when you are responding to a recruiter through email, just that's also your opportunity to show that you have
Mhm.
really good communication skills. So I say just continue on, and I'm so glad that you're in Canada, and welcome.
Thank
One
you.
one
Thank you.
piece of advice I would have if you are in the HR world is to look at maybe doing like BC employment law courses, because I think
Mhm.
that will benefit you hugely, just because in BC, there are a lot of specific laws and
Mhm.
legislation for this province. So that would be my only bit of advice, is if you can look into that for your own personal understanding. I think that would help you hugely in the job market for sure.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and just one other thing, just not to duplicate what Pam and Sinead have talked about. It's really, you've if you get an interview, you have gotten the interview for a reason, and that's
Mhm.
because of your resume. So one of the best ways, sometimes when people go into interviews, they're nervous because they don't either like seeing themselves or don't like, talking to people. That's all right. But being prepared and being confident in your answers, you're going to come across better. And like these two other people have said, I wouldn't have an issue with your communication skills. And another thing, when you're to add, there's tools out there that will help you with your written English, like Grammarly.
Mhm.
It's free. Just add it
Mhm.
onto your computer, and if you mess up, it'll catch it for you.
Mhm.
So, it's really nice. So
I
that's just
have
Yeah,
that,
thank
and I'm
you.
English speaking,
me
so
too. I do as
absolutely
well, because I type too
Grammarly.
fast and I go, ooh, that was not good. I don't know what I sometimes I don't
Yeah.
understand myself.
But welcome to Canada, and yeah, your English is perfect, so
Yeah. Yeah.
no worries.
Thank you. Thank you for this event. Thanks.
Oh, absolutely. And just remember, Olia, like you just arrived in Canada and you've already hit the ground running looking for
Mhm.
jobs. So, kudos to you. Hats off to you. This is, you know, these panels are a great resource, I think, because we know we can offer other resources as our panel speakers have just suggested. There's resources out there for getting having courses on HR. There's also, if you want to improve, for example, like your written English skills, like there are free programs out there with organizations such as Mosaic. So we have a ton of resources for finding work in BC and upgrading skills and upgrading English skills. So feel free to send me an email. I'll put my email in the chat at the end today. So feel free to email me if you want some resources, and I can send you a list.
Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, our next question is coming from Mike Zhao. Mike, do you want to ask your question to our panel speakers?
Yeah, sure. So I guess this question would be general for any of the recruiters. So, or it could be answered by any managers. So I would say if when we are looking for a position and we don't know about the specific skill or the characteristic that the recruiter or I would say co-worker will look for. So I would love to know if you think about the new hire you enjoy working with. So what are the key characteristic that first like come to your mind?
That's a great question. Like when we think about our like, you know, our best team members, what are we looking for to bring in addition to our team?
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically that's more likely, but different role may have different requirement in terms of technical skills, right? But I would
Okay.
say in general.
Okay. Well, I think it's different for every company. That's, you know, that's what makes, you know, each of our company cultures so different, is because we look for different things. So for LBC, what we look for are people who really have a understand the reason of our core values. That's one of our interview questions. Every time we ask about a core value, pick one, tell us why it resonates with you. And we look for people who understand the importance of that and who really have a interest in working for LBC. When you get in here, we're also looking for people who can be proactive. You know, you know, there's nothing to do, which is very rare. They're going to find it. They're asking questions. They're getting curious about things. And they're a team player to the truest thing. They're respectful. They have open feedback. You know, they're flexible. They listen. They're honest. They're accountable. All of our core values that we look for. So that's what we do. The characteristics we look for.
Awesome.
Man, Morgan, that's like so similar to us.
Yeah, I was like, I don't really have
We're
much overall, you just need to be a nice person, you know, like
Yeah.
egos don't go very far. And as big as the computer gaming industry is, it's also a very small world. So, you know, just be a nice person to work with, be a team player, be really passionate about what you do. You know, a lot of juniors come into our companies and they don't know everything straight away, and that's okay. But, you know, be someone who wants to learn and isn't afraid to ask questions, and to, you know, develop themselves. But yeah, I would say a lot of the values are similar, I would say, in the industry. But yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And if
great.
you're having trouble figuring out, oh, what is it that they're looking for? Certainly any role that you apply for will have a job description. So
Mm.
take a look at that, but also do your research. You can check and look up old job listings to see, oh, are they consistent? Like, what are the requirements for this company and that company? And you can start to see some trends, and you can also sometimes some people like through Glassdoor and other websites, they'll also put in some of the questions that people have asked them. So just do your research. It's always good to be prepared. It's always good to have a couple of notes to be ready, but it is important to know what the job is that you're applying for, as well as it's really important to know what kind of studio you're going to be joining, because some studios are really big, like EA, and you probably need to know who to go to for this thing or that thing, because it takes some time perhaps to find the right person. At other places, if you're a small indie company, you might have to wear a lot of hats, and that's certainly true at Blackbird. Probably the same thing at EA and at LBC. But
Yeah.
do your research so that way the recruiter and the hiring manager knows that you're really invested and that you want to be part of that studio.
Great tips.
I'm on
And
it.
also, when you're interviewing, one other tip that I like to say is know who you're interviewing. AKA, you know, if you're interviewing with me and you're asking, you know, detailed questions about code, I'm sitting there going, sure, yeah, we'll wait for the next interview for that one. Definitely ask questions, please, but know who you're asking questions for. That's another important one.
But questions are encouraged.
Yes.
100%.
I
Yeah.
love questions.
Me too.
It
So
tells me that people are
disappointing
being
when no one
thoughtful.
has it's so disappointing when no one
Yeah.
has a question, because there's so much, as Pam says, do your research, but there's so much you don't know that isn't on
Yeah.
the website. So yeah, have those,
Mhm.
have those questions ready. But again, like Morgan said, I don't know what X, Y, and Z about these technical questions.
I guess when maybe another tip from BC Jobs for creating questions to ask your interviewer, Mike, maybe create some questions that are not just like yes no questions, but something that will lead to more information being given to you.
Mm.
Well, I hope this question does not belong to that kind of Google question.
No, that was good. I would say as well, like that time, within interviews, it is very much about the company getting to know you, but you getting to know the company as well. Often interviews are seen as this one-way street, but it is a two-way conversation. And, we want to get to know you, and you should be getting to know us and seeing if we are the right company for you. So yeah, as nervous as they can be, just remember that. But yeah.
Thank you
Great
very much.
question. Hopefully we all answer your questions today, Mike.
Very, very clearly. I got really, really good sense. Thank you very much.
Thank you. In the chat, I see another question from Karoom. Karoom, if you are still here, perfect. Did you want to ask our panelists your question?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. This question is for EA. I've seen over the last few months, EA has been posting roles for UX designers.
Mhm.
I'm just curious, is that like for general UX designers, or is that specific to UX design for games? Because I know there's this whole separate area with a focus on UX.
Yeah, I mean, EA is so big that we have UX designers in a lot of different areas. We have them on the games teams and the marketing teams and our technology teams. So it really is up to you as a person, kind of where your area of interest is. But yeah, EA is very big. We've got a lot of teams, and that skill set is required for for some of them. So it really would be up to you. Do you want to be supporting, like I said, the marketing team and kind of a lot of that side of the business, or do you want to be a bit more hands-on in the game development side? So it really is up to you, and kind of where your interests lie. But yeah, we do have quite a few of those roles.
Thank you.
Sorry, that was a very generic answer, but it's kind of what I said back. It's kind of what interests you as well. With companies the size of EA, it's really about you getting out of the job what you want, and so yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Our next question is from Omay. So, Omay, I saw you had your hand raised earlier, but I finally got into your question here in the chat. So, if you're still around, feel free to turn on your camera and turn on your mic and ask your question to our panelists. Welcome.
Hi, so sorry, I'm still at work right now. I'm joining from on my lunch break.
Nice.
So the question I had was, do the studios have any current internship or coming up internship positions in the future? And uh, specifically for EA, I see a lot of co-op positions on their website, but for the co-op position, they usually want us to be enrolled in the university. So that doesn't apply to fresh graduates, I would say. One question might be that how can a fresh graduate get to a position which, for example, requires some sort of experience,
Yeah.
but we are just right out of the university. We can have personal projects, but no experience. So what can we do to get our foot in the door if we
Yeah.
are in that position?
So for EA, if you see associate in the job title, like associate character artist, technical artist, that they tend to be our junior level roles. So I would aim and kind of gear yourself towards them. I think, juniors, we don't expect you to have experience. That's why you're coming in at that level. But so it's really about selling yourself, preparing your resume, and showcasing all your skills, everything you've done. I hire a lot of our associate technical artists, and a lot of the times they do, those candidates do just have project work from school, and that's okay. But yeah, you need to be selling yourself towards the company you want to apply for, the industry you want to apply for. So, like Chelsea said earlier, everyone has to start somewhere. If you are a graduate, co-op isn't for you. That's not the role you should be looking at, because they are connected to different schools and those kind of mid education. So yeah, anything that says associate, junior, I would aim for. And then, you know, have your resume geared towards that role and um, that company. So read the job description, see what they're looking for, see if you have those skills. And just, yeah, like I said, it's just about selling yourself in the right way. Get your LinkedIn up and running. We source, I would say, 90% of my sourcing comes from LinkedIn. So you should be using that resource as well. Connecting with people, a lot of times people reach out to me, but if you want to be a character artist, start connecting with character artists at the company you want to work with, and ask them questions, because a lot of the times they'll come to recruitment and they'll say, I've met this really great person, doesn't have any experience but is really enthusiastic, wants to get their foot in the door. So I would just say utilize all those kind of free resources you have online as well.
Omaze, what
Yeah,
oh,
gotcha.
I was just
Sorry,
gonna
sorry.
I was just gonna ask, what field are you in? Are you in artist or technical?
Oh, I'm into game programming.
Perfect.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did
Yeah.
a diploma from Sheridan and just graduated last year.
Great. Well, I will say that if you're in game programming, it's going to be really easy to find an
Yeah.
entry level job.
Mhm.
It's going to be easy. So now I say easy, but there's a lot of opportunities for that. Now, one of the things that I can offer to kind of bulk up your resume a bit is, you've done your schooling, which is great. Now you're kind of looking for your first job. I would also look into like the gig economy, and you have your education. So signing up for something like Upwork or Fiverr or something, and connecting with people who are looking for someone, with programming experience to help them out. And you can have some of that kind of gig work on your resume to help get you not really professional experience, but experience out in the world. And then another thing for you is also looking into different entry points for game programming. So one of the things that we like is we like bringing in people through the QA route, and then once they've got a couple of years of experience or even a year of experience, we flip them over to our engineering team, and we start them there. And so they have that kind of built in ground level foundations of how the gaming industry works, how the company works, and we can start mentoring them in their field of path that they want to do for their career. But nice choice on the game programming part.
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
that expands to so many. So,
So many,
I guess
yeah.
do some research into what you want to be doing with programming.
Yeah.
Like I said, I work for the art team, and we have technical artists, we have, software engineers. Do you want to be doing that? Do you want to be more in the game engine? Do some research about actually where within games you want to go with that, because there's
Yeah,
a lot of options out there.
I do know that even in terms of programming, you might be working on gameplay features, or you might be working with a game engine. I guess companies like EA usually have in-house game engines, right?
Yeah, Frostbite. But we also work, we're looking for those with Python, C++, C Sharp. It can be quite a broad skill set that people bring to the table. So that's an in-house thing. We don't expect anyone to come in new knowing that. So don't be worried about that either.
I would also
Right.
show examples of your work in your portfolio. So, like for artists, a lot of people will post things on ArtStation, and that is a place where we can see what people are actually doing. Because it's one thing to have a resume and your information on LinkedIn; those are words, but also we want to see what people can do. So what I've seen is some people will put like an example of some code that they've built. um, they will mention that they have it. Maybe they don't want to release it, but they'll say, I can show it to you if I get an interview. That's totally understandable as well. Some people join game jams, and you can do that remotely as well. And so you'll find a couple of people who are also developing a game. You get together, chances are at some point there will be some mentor or somebody from a studio that's going to be checking out the results of the games. And that's a great place to connect as well. So you take that opportunity to be able to showcase who you are and what you've done in more than just words, but also help illustrate the work that you do, because that's our chance to get to know who you are.
Great. I hope we've
Yeah,
answered all your
so
questions.
just one question regarding showing off your work. So I have links to my GitHub profile on my resume. But what I notice on some companies' website that they ask for to kind of to attach sample work with the profile that you're applying for online. So I don't really understand. I've applied to EA before, and they usually ask me to upload work samples online. So if you're like, I don't know how to get through that step. I just what I do is I write all my links to my projects on a notepad and then attach a copy of that on the portal, because I don't know how you can attach, like, for example, so many lines of code. You like copy it onto another file and put it there.
You should be able to
I
apply
guess
without support. Like I didn't think that was like a required thing, but
it wasn't a required thing, but
okay.
when they were like asking for it, I thought if they want to look into your code, they might want something like that. So if we have our GitHub link on resume, that should be fine, right?
Yeah.
All right.
For me, it's preferable because our system is quite long. So for me to go and find it in that little questionnaire you fill out takes a bit more time. So if it's on your resume, it helps. Had to have it all in one place.
Yeah, all right. That's all my questions. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Great questions. These are important questions. Thank you, Omaze. All right, just going back to the chat list here of questions. I saw that Ihor had a question. Are you still around? Oh, you are.
Yeah, I'm
Perfect.
here.
Great. So
Hi.
feel free to ask your question to our panelists here.
Yeah, of course. My question is, if the company has 2 or more vacancies that I like, should I apply to all, or better choose only one? It's probably more for Electronic Arts because they have a lot of teams.
I would say from an EA standpoint, if it's different teams, to apply to both of them. But what I would say is don't apply for a senior role and then a mid role and then a junior role. Because you need to, from my point of view, it's good that you have awareness of your ability as a candidate. So that's where I would say, I'm talking from an EA standpoint because they are so big, and you have Respawn hiring the same skill set as Motive and DICE. So if you're interested in all those different studios, yes, apply to all of them, but don't apply for like a character artist, an environment artist, a technical artist. I think hone in on where you see your skills and your level, and apply for that one. So that would be my advice from an EA point of view. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. EA's massive, so there might be some different teams, and you might be working with different recruiters on that particular
yes.
role as well. So you don't know if Sinead's going to be looking at both the roles that you applied for. It might be my friend who works for Respawn. For a company like LBC, it's I can see. I'm the person who sees if you apply for 1 or 2 jobs. What I encourage is, something that Sinead said, make sure that you focus on what you want to do, because that's going to come out through the interview. When we ask certain questions, and make sure that it's a role that you feel that you can confidently apply for and interview for. I've seen some people, it confuses me, they've applied for an engineering role and then an artist role. I'm going, what is going on? It's very confusing. So when I see that, I go, no to both. Because they don't know where they want to go. So I would just say, have focus in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for BBI, same thing. apply for the role that you are interested in, but apply for, we'll have multiple ones because there are more than one role for the project. Sometimes the project's got maybe 2 or 3 roles. Maybe we're just starting and we're ramping up. Maybe there are like 3 projects that are all looking for programmers, which is possible, probably very true.
Yeah.
And so, again, we will take a look at your application and figure out which one you're most suitable for. And it could be that you're suitable for all 3. So we'll just have one big party and have all the
That's
hiring
great.
managers meet you at the same time.
Yes.
Yeah. And also, our system will recognize duplicates. And
Yes.
so if you've applied a couple of years before, our system will say, is it the same person? We're like, yeah, I think so. And then we'll just put you in the right place.
Yeah.
But I think that both of the panelists, my fellow panelists, are very correct in giving you the advice to apply for the right one, but also apply for as many roles that you feel are suitable for you. Because the other thing too is it does matter that someone keeps trying. But what I like to see if you are trying over and over again is what's different from the last time. What have you
Mhm.
learned that's
Yes.
different from the year before? Because some people they'll apply and it's the same resume for 5 years. It's like, come on, man.
Yeah.
I know you've learned something new in the last 5 years. So I think somebody asked, should I put in a cover letter? Hey, it's completely optional for you. But if you're somebody that we've maybe have met like 5 years ago, or if you applied 5 years ago, the cover letter is actually a pretty good place to say, hey, I applied 5 years ago and I was doing this, and these are all the things I've learned. I really hope I get to interview with you this time. So I don't know whose question I answered. Hopefully, I got that one done. But Ihor, I hope that answers the question from the BBI perspective.
Yeah, all clear. Thank you.
And
Thanks
just to
for your
add to
question.
the
Oh, sure.
just to add to the cover letter pieces, pay attention to detail to that, because I get a lot of people sending in a cover letter for a role that is different to what's on the cover letter, or it says a different gaming company. And I am well aware a template is what everyone uses for a cover letter because they are painful to write.
Yes.
But just make sure when you are submitting it that it says the company and the role you are submitting it for. So that would be my
Yes.
only advice.
Yes,
because,
please. Thank you,
because
Sinead.
it's just the attention to detail thing. So, and I'm sure we've all seen it, but that would be my advice with a cover letter.
To add to that,
Yeah.
attention to detail is very, very key. But I always say pay attention to detail to the job description. If the job description asks for a cover letter, definitely 100% put one in. If it doesn't, in my mind, I don't even look at it.
Yeah.
I don't look at it. It's too much. I need to go. I have so many roles I'm trying to hire for. I'm looking at your resume, and you need to, this will probably lead into the next question, part 2 of that one question, is what's going to capture my attention within a minute? What's going to get me, like, what's going to make your resume pop out on that first page? I don't even look at cover letters.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ihor. Actually, adding on to this topic of cover letters, Mo has asked a question about cover letters in the chat. So Mo, if you want to ask some more questions about cover letters, feel free.
No, I think you guys all pretty much touched a little bit on it, and that was pretty good answers. Yeah, like when you said you hired what 5,500 people last year, I was like, they might not even look at cover letters, so I just thought I'd ask because
It
that's a lot of
depends on
cover
the
letters to go
role.
through.
Like, it really does. If I'm looking at an artist role, I wouldn't say it's the biggest priority. But if you're hiring someone, within the HR team or something like that, we tend to look at them. I do look at them if they're there, but they're not the most important piece, I would say. Yeah, that would be.
I also
Okay.
think of sometimes like the email intro as a cover
Yes.
letter. So if someone's like, hey, I'm applying for this and this is why I'm interested, la la, that's your cover letter.
Yep.
Yep, right there.
Yeah, it doesn't need to be an essay, a couple
No.
paragraphs
Yeah.
of that. And just to lead into the, I think someone mentioned about the resume, if you are applying for a technical role, put your technical skills first, make your resume easy to see. Put like if you what coding languages you have, what software you use, like put that all at the top, then experience and education. I mean, that can obviously change depending on the company, but yeah, you want to hit us pretty hard with that first look at your resume. So anything you can do along with that would be my advice.
Okay, thank you.
And
Thank you.
I would also say, it's that top, science, top third. It's your
Yes.
top third. That's what you're aiming for to get all the information that you want to attract is the top third of that first page.
So find out what the company wants and then target that 1/3 of the
Yes.
page.
Yeah.
Easy enough, right? Awesome. Thank you,
Chelsea, I
guys.
feel like we've hijacked your
No.
creating our own questions.
Not at all. No, this is awesome. I noticed in the chat that Thomas has actually got questions for both Pam and Sinead. So Thomas, I see you've been waiting patiently. I know you've had your hand up a few times. So welcome back.
I am glad to be back, even though I never left. Should I just?
Yeah.
Okay,
dive
cool.
into it.
So first off, I guess, question for Pam. Can I have a job, please? I need money. No.
Direct.
In a more realistic version of that question, though, does BBI have any introductory sort of roles for people with less than a lot of experience, sort of thing?
Yeah, I think Morgan
Junior
had
roles type
mentioned
thing?
that they bring in people for QA, and that's a really good way to give them studio experience, and they've got the foot in their door. And you probably, Morgan, your studio probably has some type of development program. That's a lot of times where people get connected to a mentor when they're on the QA team. And so we've seen a lot of our QA folks move on to like design. Some people have moved on to production, and a lot of them took advantage of our mentorship program. So I would check out the career page to see if there's any QA roles. And there are certainly some requirements to be on the QA team. We hope to kick off an internship program probably sometime in the next year or two. We just kind of have to get settled into this level of growth right now. But internship programs are really important to be able to give people with less experience that opportunity to start their career in gaming. So I'm not sure what other studios out there in Vancouver have them, but I think there are some, and I would encourage you to maybe look around to see if there's any internship programs out there. But BBI, we don't have them yet, but maybe keep your eyes open for any associate roles or QA roles.
Righty. And I guess that leads on to the next question. I heard C#, C++, and Python mentioned earlier, and I was curious as to which of the three, or if there are any others, would be a preferable thing to have experience in.
For my team, it's Python, because that's kind of the biggest coding language we use in the CG art world. But if you talk to someone on a different team, they might say C++. So it really depends what you want to be doing. But for me, it's Python. Yeah, just to keep the answer pretty simple. But again, other teams will say other things.
I was going to say for us, it's C#.
Yeah,
is important for us, and Unity is also important. So
yeah.
That's
I've done some Unity stuff, so hey.
Great, yeah.
Well, I'll be the least straightforward. It depends. Because we use a lot of a couple of different engines, different types of languages. We have projects where we have clients. We have IP projects as well. So I can't say that there's one that we use more than others.
Okay.
Bring what you got, and we'll see
Fair enough.
where we can
Fair
fit
enough.
you in.
We'll figure out something. That's all I can think of right now. So yeah.
Thanks for your
Great
question.
questions, Thomas.
Thank you.
And I believe I've reached the end of all the questions in the chat. If anyone has any questions, feel free to raise your hand. For those of you who don't know where the raise hand button is, it's at the bottom of your screen where it says reactions. There's a little smiley face. If you click on that, there's a raised hand bar. So if you have any burning questions for our last 9 minutes of the panel, feel free to raise your hand and get in those last questions before I start to wrap up our panel for today. I've been loving all the questions that everyone has been asking in the chat. So thank you so much for all your thoughtfulness. And yeah, if you have any last questions, raise that hand and we'll get to them. Okay, well, if there are, okay, Thomas has thought of another question. Go for it, Thomas.
You will never get rid of me. I am here forever.
He wants a job. Wink,
yes,
wink.
precisely. But no, it's just I imagine the answer to this is pretty obvious, but I'm 20. I don't really know. So I presume this whole thing isn't like some sort of introduction to like actually starting the hiring process. I'd still have to go through and apply on all the different websites and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yes, that's correct.
All right, cool. Just wanted to double check that.
Good question. Alrighty, well, if there are no more questions for our panelists today, then I'll start to wrap up our panel. So big thanks everybody for all your questions today. I hope I got through all the questions in the chat. If I've missed any, apologies. Yes, Lorraine just chatted out. I'm intrigued with the women in gaming information. I'll connect later. So they will be in touch. I believe that was BB, the question for BBI earlier. So great, yes. I don't know if our panelists are you guys open to having people send you messages through LinkedIn? Okay, head nods, yes. Okay.
Yes.
Feel free, I'm saying just to our panelists, but feel free to put any important links that you want to share with our audience today here in the chat. If you have some hiring pages that you want them to check out or your LinkedIn profile, feel free to add that in the chat here. So our panelists or our audience can grab those and check you out. So thank you to the audience for all your very thoughtful and interesting questions. And a big thank you to our panelists for all your thoughtful answers. And to wrap up today, it was an absolute pleasure to have you all on our panel. And thank you so much for taking the time out of your super busy schedules. I know Tuesdays can be a bit busy. And if anyone's looking for new work opportunities, check out the links in the chat here for Blackbird Interactive, EA, and LBC Studios. And don't forget to join us on May 17th next month for our next guest speaker panel series with Aquatics Informatics and Incepta and Spare. So this spring, we will be running our guest speaker panel series, the #HireMe2022 panel. Every 3 weeks, you get to meet speakers from various industries a little more frequently. And lastly, you can always shoot me an email with any questions to events@BCJobs.ca. And I'm always happy to answer questions or provide you with resources or more information. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. I'll type my email here into the chat, events@BCJobs.ca. So if you need to reach out to me, that's me. And thank you again for joining us. And I wish you a wonderful, wonderful week. And Thomas has got his hands raised. So last question for you, Thomas. Go for it.
Once again, you will never get rid of me. No, I'm kidding. On just a kind of random note, Pamela, I saw you a moment ago mention your email to Lorraine. Is that a offer open to anybody or just specifically?
Anybody. Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. You might get an email from me in a few minutes. And by might, I mean most definitely will.
Okay. Thank you, Thomas.
Okay. Thank you all for this whole thing, by the way. It's really cool that you're doing this.
We're happy to put them on. You know, these panels are for job seekers. So, you know, we want to show kind of bring together a community and connect hiring managers directly with job applicants and talents like yourself. So feel free to join our next round next month and meet more companies. But yeah, we're happy to put them on and happy to provide these connections via BC Jobs. We're happy to be like the middle person here. So thank you all again for joining us today and have a wonderful week. Stay safe and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much, Chelsea. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Bye.